Hello and welcome to another edition of Mailbag. What is Mailbag? Well, Mailbag is a feature of the channel where you guys leave lots of comments on the channel and I attempt to answer those comments, or if I can't answer those comments, I throw it out to you guys who have more knowledge on some of this stuff than I do. So let's get into the first mailbag of this session. Remember, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Go over to Instagram and follow me there. Go over to Facebook, follow me there. That's where the normal notices are. And consider becoming a Patreon. Next comment or question comes from HDang969. And this was in response to setting up your Roland MX-1 for your environment, a video I did in January 2016 when the channel was very, very young. And I go back and look at some of those videos and cringe. In fact, I look at some of the modern videos and cringe, so it makes no difference. But we have very many more people viewing the channel now than we did back then. Anyway, Dang Whites, alright. So, if I want to record my hardware jams into Logic, I should set it to surface mode. I put my hardware jams together without computer connections, so would you say it's best to have it in mix mode for that, and then put it into surface mode each time I'm ready to record? And then any leftover channels I could use for VSTs or whatever in Logic if I need be. But that's not important at the moment. I mainly use 4 USB channels for the TR8S, the TB3 and 2 boutiques. And then 5 and 6 is for machine, and 1 channel for an RC202, which is a guitar. I suppose you have to put that because I have no idea what an RC202 would have been otherwise. I would have said it was a Roland device given RC. Anyway, so there are 3 remaining mono channels, the digital channel and the PC channel left over. If you're using this setup for Roland gear, USB machine, 5 and 6, RC202, channel 1 mono, what would be your best workflow for doorless jamming and then ready to record into Logic? Sorry to keep asking questions, but when you put it out, such a detailed MX-1 explanation just gets confusing sometimes, and you explain things better than a lot I find on YouTube. Well, okay. Well, first of all, I would say thank you for the feedback on my explanations. Hopefully my day job actually comes across when I'm actually doing the instructional stuff. Shame shame it's so niche that I don't get millions of views. I get thousands of views. Millions of views would be lovely, but you know, I'm not doing something that everybody can relate to, like people like the 8-bit guy who, you know, pulls a PC to pieces and everyone goes, I owned one of them, oh yeah. Anyway, or Retro Man Cave. I would say, and this is my personal preference on the Roland MX-1, and from a lot of pulling my hair out, I might add, but I always use extended mode, or EXT, because it allows you to use all the channels on the Roland MX-1, and then these channels can be mapped to the inputs on your computer, which ultimately means you can then map them into Logic on a pretty much one-to-one basis. I tried to use the surface mode, and to be honest, even when Roland released the Ableton extensions for the MX-1 to run the unit as a surface, not for Logic, but this was for Ableton, I tried the unit in the surface mode, and I just got so frustrated with it. I switched back to EXT, and I just use it as effectively as a what's the word I'm looking for? I just use it as an audio interface in external mode. You can use the faders for outputs, and in actual fact, the Roland MX-1 is not a bad machine to use as an external audio interface. You know, you don't necessarily need your Focusrites or your M Audios or your I can't think of the one I'm thinking of now, but you don't need those devices. Mark of the Unicorn was what I was thinking of. But you don't need those devices necessarily to record. The MX-1 will allow you to do quite a lot of stuff The problem with the MX-1 is the funky nature of the inputs, in that you've got the USB inputs, then you've got the stereo input, then you've got the digital input, and then you've got the 4 mono inputs. It has a market. It was designed to work at the sort of the DJ beats maker. People will shoot me down for saying this, but that's where I feel the MX-1 was kind of aimed at. Then they introduced some support for some Roland keyboards, but really, you know, it was aimed to support the ARIA gear when the ARIA gear was introduced. And as I say, it's kind of had its day. It should have been retired. Well, it has been retired. That's not quite what I mean. It should have been replaced, is what I should really say. It should have been replaced by another mixer that was more akin to Roland's release strategy, and it's not been. Anyway, going back to this. So, if you have it in the EXT mode, you can use it for doorless jamming. Just remember to set the master clock to whatever device is going to be the master clock. And in some instances, the MX-1 being the master clock is not a bad idea. But you know, you need to work out your master clock routing. And then the rest have to be slaves from the master clocks, otherwise everything kind of goes out of sync and sounds a bit naff. And then when you're ready to record, you effectively just plug the USB cable into the back of it, into your PC, map the channels, and away you go. Now, the other thing to remember about the MX-1 is if you've played around with the MX-1 and you've been mucking around with the echoes and delays and various bits and bobs, you won't get those on your computer, because the MX-1 sends the signal from the MX-1 to the PC dry. So whatever is being played in from the drum machine or from the Jupiter or whatever it happens to be will be what comes out. So any effects you've put on the MX-1 bus, they get dropped completely. So quite often people turn around and say, well, what I'm hearing in the monitors is not what I'm hearing recorded. And the reason for that is because they aren't running everything dry. So anyway, I hope that helps with your query. Next one comes from Poseidon SWE, and this is kind of a follow-on question to a question he asked a little while back. I'm hoping you'll see these in sequence, but you might not. You might see the other question after this, or you might see this one before that, if you get my drift. Anyway, in response to how to back up and restore patches on the Roland System-1, a video I did in September 2020. And Poseidon writes, I did the factory reset, and now the System-1 and SH101 have proper patches on banks 1 to 8, and lost all the others. And, you know, I kind of went into quite a bit of detail on this on the last one. But unfortunately, this is kind of the health check on this process. If you have custom patches and you go and do a factory reset, you will lose the lot. All right, on a Roland System-1 or on a Roland System 8. If you do this, if you create custom patches on your drum machine or custom patterns on your drum machine, you'll lose those as well. All right, all this stuff, when you do a factory reset, it's doing literally what it says on the side of the tin. It is resetting it to how it came from the factory, which will be minus your patches. The problem is, you have to do a factory reset on a fairly frequent basis, depending on how you're using it, because stuff just stops working the way you think it should be working. So the health check is, please, 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 before you do a factory reset on any ARIA equipment, back up your patches.